Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving right into the fascinating science of hydration to bust some major myths along the way. We all know water is absolutely essential, but the advice surrounding how much to drink, and what actively works against us is so often clouded by outdated rules and heavy marketing. Today, we're clearing all of that up with hard data.
Here's our roadmap for today's Explainer. First, the daily hydration baseline. 2. Busting the coffee myth. 3. The real dehydrator, alcohol. 4. Choosing your water type. And finally, 5. Hydration for special needs.
All right, Section 1, the daily hydration baseline, establishing the numbers. Let's see what our bodies actually require on a daily basis.
So bypassing the old rules of thumb, what does the clinical data from the National Academies of Sciences actually tell us? Well, according to the NAS, a massive 80% of our daily hydration comes from fluids. And get this, that absolutely includes your caffeinated drinks, milk, and juice. But what about the other 20%? That actually comes straight from our food. Think about it, right? Biting into a fresh melon or eating a spinach salad, you're not just drinking your water, you are literally eating a good chunk of it too.
Okay, so what are the actual targets? The NAS puts the adequate daily intake at roughly 3.7 liters for men, which is about 125 ounces, and 2.7 liters, or around 91 ounces, for women. But honestly, here's the real takeaway. You do not need to obsessively track every single ounce. Seriously, for the average healthy person living in a temperate climate, your natural feeling of thirst is actually a highly reliable indicator. Your body is incredibly smart and knows exactly how to tell you when it needs a top-up.
Moving right along to Section 2. Busting the coffee myth. Does caffeine really dry you out? Let's see what the science actually says. We've all heard that old rule, haven't we? The one that says you have to drink a glass of water for every cup of coffee you have. The idea was always that caffeine is a diuretic, meaning it makes you lose more fluid than you actually take in. But when we look at the clinical data, does it actually support the idea that your morning habit is drying you out?
Well, the reality is a resounding no. Multiple crossover studies actually confirm that for regular coffee drinkers, moderate coffee consumption hydrates the body just as effectively as plain water. Literally, no difference. When researchers looked at hydration biomarkers, things like total body water, plasma osmolality, and urine volume, they found no significant difference between the two. What's actually happening is that regular caffeine use leads to renal adaptation. Basically, your kidneys just get used to the caffeine, which dramatically reduces any diuretic sensitivity.
Now, the absolutely crucial point here is that dose matters. That diuretic effect, it really only kicks in at high single-session doses. We're talking 500 milligrams or more all at once. For most of us, the goal is simply keeping total caffeine under 400 milligrams a day. Let's break that down real quick. An 8-ounce brewed coffee has about 96 milligrams, a shot of espresso, around 63 milligrams. So as long as you aren't chugging massive quantities all at once, your coffee, your tea, or even that energy drink is actively contributing to your daily fluid intake. It's definitely not taking away from it. Okay, so since coffee's officially off the hook, we must pivot to Section 3, the real dehydrator, alcohol, and the physiology of fluid loss. If you've ever woken up after a night out feeling completely parched, you know exactly what we're talking about here. Here is the exact mechanism at play. Alcohol actively promotes dehydration because it depresses a hormone called vasopressin. Normally, vasopressin is your friend. It acts as an anti-diuretic, telling your kidneys to hold on to water and crucial minerals. But when alcohol suppresses this hormone, your kidneys just go into absolute overdrive. They start flushing out water along with essential electrolytes like magnesium, potassium, and calcium. You're not just losing fluid, you are flushing out the very minerals your body needs to maintain balance.
And this becomes incredibly important if you're active. Research shows that if you try to rehydrate after a heavy workout with beverages containing 4% or more alcohol, you are literally stalling your body's recovery process. You're actively delaying the recovery of your fluid and electrolyte balance. So yeah, maybe skip that celebratory high-alcohol beer right after a long run, at least until you fully rehydrated with water first.
All right, let's jump into Section 4, choosing your water type and navigating the beverage aisle.
With so many options out there claiming all these different health benefits, what are you actually buying? Let's quickly demystify the common types of drinking water you're going to find at the store. First up, we have good old tap water, highly regulated and super affordable. Then there's mineral water, which is pulled from springs and naturally contains calcium and magnesium. Sparkling water has carbon dioxide added under pressure, which, fun fact, can actually increase feelings of fullness. Then we have distilled water, which is boiled into steam and condensed back down.
That completely removes impurities, sure, but it also strips out all the beneficial minerals. And finally, alkaline water, which boasts a higher pH, though honestly, the extravagant health claims surrounding it have very limited scientific backing.
So, what's the final takeaway for us as consumers? It's incredibly simple. Despite the heavy marketing claims, the fancy bottles, and those crazy premium price tags, there is no single best water for your health beyond what is safe, clean, and accessible to you. Whether it comes right out of your kitchen tap or from a fancy glass bottle, as long as it's clean, it is doing the exact job your body needs.
Moving on to our final topic, Section 5, Hydration for Special Needs, specifically looking at pregnancy and breastfeeding. The baseline rules we talked about, they change quite a bit when we focus on maternal and infant health, where hydration is quite literally fueling two lives. During pregnancy, optimal fluid intake is absolutely vital. Daily requirements jump significantly to somewhere between 54 and 68 ounces. And why does this matter so much? Well, this extra water isn't just for the mother's comfort. It's directly utilized to help form the amniotic fluid in the womb, it improves digestion, and it helps produce the extra blood needed to supply the growing fetus with nutrients and oxygen.
And this crucial need extends right into the postpartum period. Breast milk is roughly 80% water. Think about that. A mother's fluid intake directly affects her baby's hydration. If the mother is dehydrated, the milk supply drops, putting the infant at real risk. That makes these specific warning signs of infant dehydration absolutely critical to memorize. We're looking for a dry nappy for 6 or more hours, a sticky or dry mouth, no tears when they're crying, and cold hands or sunken eyes. If you see these signs, hydration needs to be addressed immediately.
Nursing mothers also need to carefully manage limits on what they drink. Remember earlier how we said dose matters with caffeine? Well, for nursing moms, it's recommended to cap caffeine at about 300 milligrams daily, which is roughly 3 cups of coffee. This is because infants have a really hard time breaking down caffeine, and that can lead to some serious sleep disruption. As for alcohol, it peaks in breast milk about 30 to 60 minutes after consumption. The golden rule here is to wait at least 2 to 3 hours after a single drink before breastfeeding, just to allow the alcohol to fully clear from the system.
Bringing this all together, the data from the national academies reassures us that our bodies are just incredibly smart. For the vast majority of us, simply listening to our natural thirst mechanism works perfectly. You really don't need to overthink it. And you certainly don't need to fear that your morning cup of tea or coffee is secretly drying you out.
So, knowing what you know now, that your morning coffee actively contributes to your hydration, that alcohol is the actual dehydrator you need to watch out for, and that your own thirst is truly your best guide, how are you going to optimize your own habits starting tomorrow? Are you going to drop the overpriced fancy water brands? Or maybe you'll finally stop feeling guilty about pouring that second cup of coffee. Something to think about. Thanks for joining me for today's Explainer, and keep staying curious.